In this video, we're going to analyze the build quality from inside the LG G5. I will show you how all the components are replaced, like the charging port and the screen. When I picked up the LG G5 for the first time, I just assumed it was plastic by the pure feel and weight of the phone. It felt like plastic. It was not until later when I checked LG's advertising and they said it was metal. So let's see what's going on. Pop out the battery holster, and then there's two screws that you can see visibly from inside the phone. And then the rest of this is very similar to HTC's M9. If you've ever taken apart that phone, it's going to be almost the exact same. The screen is held in by pure friction and force to the inside of this frame. Luckily, I have quite a few pry tools to help me out along with the process. When I pry between the frame of the screen and the frame of the phone, I'm making sure not to put any pressure on the glass or the LCD, because that's how it will break. Now, if you are replacing your own screen, it doesn't matter as much, but you still don't want to damage anything inside the phone. So be careful when you're prying the screen out. Now that we've lifted away the screen from the metal body, we can check to see what this thing is really made of. So I'm taking my razor blade and shaving away the back, and it's pure plastic up to this point. There is no metal until you get very deep inside the phone, and now you can see a glint of silver. This is aluminum down there inside the body. So when you're touching the phone, you're touching plastic, a thick layer of plastic. Here on the underside of the phone, the inside is metal, but you can see along the edges down at the bottom that is plastic as well. I'm not sure what the thought process here was, because it definitely doesn't feel premium, and I don't feel like it should be advertised as a pure metal phone. Here's a spring-loaded sensor to tell when the battery is in place, also the sensors for the fingerprint scanner, the headphone jack, the vibrator, and the power button. Those all rest against contacts on the motherboard. There are 6 screws that you need to take out on the back side, Phillips head. Then we're going to remove the screen ribbon cable, and snaps like a little Lego. The front-facing camera is 8 megapixel. Unsnap that ribbon cable, as well as the rear camera. Both of those just unsnap like Legos. The other rear camera, the 16 megapixel, also unsnap from the motherboard. Here you can see the OIS, the image stabilization inside of the 8 megapixel rear camera. And this is the 16 megapixel camera with the wide angle lens. You can see the GoPro effect it has there on the glass. Now this is the screen. LG usually sells their screens with the frame intact, which makes it really easy. And their screens are relatively cheap. LG is one of the most cost-effective phones to repair. So when you're going to buy the replacement part, which I will link in the video description, you want to get the one with the frame attached to it. It makes the whole repair process a lot easier. You don't need heat or extra glue or anything weird like that. Putting the cameras back into place, snapping them back onto the motherboard, you'll feel it connect just like a little Lego right onto the board. Putting the 8 megapixel front camera back into place. There are 6 screws around that back side. Snapping the 8 megapixel rear camera in place and the screen ribbon cable onto the main board. I'm going to line up the top and press that in, and then be very careful when you're placing your new screen down into the phone, because you can crack it during this process. I'm going to set it in gently, and then I'm going to use my pry tool to put a little pressure against the frame of the screen and the frame of the phone to set that down into the little groove where it belongs. Once both sides are flush, you can put the SIM card tray and SD card tray back in and put those 2 screws in down at the bottom. Now if your charging port is fine, just put the thing back together again and you're good to go. I'm going to show you how to replace the charging port though. There's 2 screws down here at the bottom once the battery's unsnapped from that bottom part. And then it's kind of the same concept as the rest of the phone. You pull away the metal shell housing from the bottom. Once that's off, there's one more screw. Remove the top plastic housing, and then the charging port can just slip out away from the plastic that it's in. And this is the part that plugs into the wall, and then that little white part of the top plugs into the phone itself. Pretty straightforward. Putting it all back together again. One last screw. Putting the housing back into place, get those 2 screws in at the bottom, and then clip the battery back into place, and then you can press it into the phone. This phone definitely does not feel premium, whether it's a metal housing covered in plastic or not. It definitely does not feel like metal, especially with that thick of a plastic coating. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video and like to see other videos like it in the future, hit that subscribe button. Hope to see you around. Thanks for watching.